Welcome to The Difference Makers, a Paladin security podcast. We'll take you inside the world of security and share firsthand expertise from our industry professionals. Join us as we dive into everything security and explore the journeys of those who go above and beyond to make our world a safer and friendlier place.
Welcome to The Difference Makers. I'm Christina Hidanis. We have a special guest this month, one who spent 32 years in law enforcement before joining Paladin Security 9 years ago and officially retired at the end of January. Thompson built the Newfoundland and Labrador branch from the ground up as a branch manager and reflects on his illustrious career. If you're interested in getting into security or law enforcement, this episode is for you. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Cy, and congratulations on your retirement. How did you know that now was the right time for you?
Well, Christina, after 32 years of police work and 9 fantastic years with Paladin, sometimes, you know what? You got to sail off in the sunset and you got to pick your time. And my time's right now for me and for my family.
That's so exciting. So let's talk a little bit about your career, first starting in law enforcement. So you joined Paladin 9 years ago, but like you said, you had 32 years with law enforcement before that. Tell me a little bit about your time there. Like, what was it like? Why did you decide that law enforcement was the career path for you?
Way back in 1982 is when I joined the academy. So probably about a year before that, early 1981. My grandfather saw an application in the local newspaper at the time, which would have been social media of the day. And he said, you better get down there and get yourself a job. At the time I was in school doing a millwright course, industrial mechanic. So I applied for the police force and I did 2 interviews with them. And I was fortunate enough to be hired. And I ended up in October of 82 at the Atlantic Police Academy in PEI. And at that time, you did 6 months training there. And then you learned on the job when you returned to St. John's, Newfoundland at the time, where I was with them for 5 years, called the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. And there are only 2 police forces in all of Canada with the heading Royal. Number 1 being the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Force, and number 2 being the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. So 5 years with them, and then after that, in 87, I moved to St. John, New Brunswick.
And then you just continued on with your career with the police for a while after that.
Continued on for another 27 years in St. John, New Brunswick, where I attained the rank of inspector in charge of the Criminal Investigation Division, Major Crimes Unit. And that was a great career and some really great highlights. And one that sticks out mostly to me in my career with the St. John Police Force would have been the promotion of a female inspector. It's the oldest unionized police force in North America. It's 1869 is when it became a unionized police force. To that date, to the day that I retired, they've never ever had an inspector, female inspector. So one of my highlights that I like to say that was that I was coaching, directing, mentoring this wonderful young lady at the time who became the first ever female police officer inspector with the St. John Police Force. So very proud of that and very proud of that young lady who's still with the force today.
Well, so what was it about her that you felt was a good choice to be an inspector? And why do you think, I mean, we know that police kind of, back in the day, old boys club, maybe not seeing women into higher up positions. But what was it about her that made her a good choice for the position?
Well, it was a shoo-in for the job because she was a people person. She put everyone before herself, so to speak, and she wanted to learn. She wanted the education. She wanted the training, and she wanted to make a difference, which is what really stuck with me. And not only that, growing up through her career, she had the respect of the entire police force. And, at the end of the day, the most important thing is putting the right people in the right places. And that's what we like to do here at Paladin, putting the right people in the right places. And that young lady was just the right person in the right place at the right time. And I knew from the commitment that she gave to herself, to her work, and to her family that she would be a good choice and a solid choice to be the first ever inspector with the St. John Police Force female inspector. So very proud of her.
Yeah, that's such a cool story. It's so nice to hear different success stories like that, because a lot of times too, you kind of do what's best for yourself, right? And you push yourself forward. But to see you taking on a supporting role to support her with her career, that's very inspiring. Is it something that you've continued on to when you moved into Paladin Security?
And that's a great question, and it certainly is. And I've always learned throughout the years, if you're going to be a leader, lead with with I call it my heart, with my instincts. But the most important thing is give people the opportunity to grow, and there's only one way you can do that, and as you let them experience different situations, and you're there to guide, and you're there to direct them, coach them. But the most important thing is to give them the opportunity, give them the education, give them the training, and let them go from there. So opportunities all the way through from when I was a leader in the police force to when I became branch manager with Paladin was so very, very important for me to build a great foundational team of leaders. I call it succession planning is the old word for it, but at the end of the day, the most important thing in my legacy when I leave Paladin, with a lot of mixed emotions, is make sure, again, you have the right people in the right places and make sure that the transition is seamless. Because if you're going to do anything, and I always said this, and I did say it in the police force, when I leave Paladin, same way when I left the St. John Police Force, I want to make sure that the person that goes into my position can do the work a lot better than I can do the work. In other words, to do it to do justice, you got to make sure you're putting those people, the right people in the right places, and you want to see them succeed and do even better than you ever did. That's the sign of a good leader.
Definitely. And with your leadership, was it always something that you naturally had, or when did you kind of figure out your style along the way throughout your career?
Well, you know, your style changes with time, and it changes with the situations that are presented with in front of you. But I attribute my leadership to sports. And I played a lot of sports in my day, whether it be hockey, basketball, soccer, volleyball. If it was a sport, I played it, and I exceeded at high levels. And at the end of the day, I would say my experience with sports taught me to be that a good leader. And if anyone, sports is not for everyone, but whatever it is that you want to do in life, like if you want to be a leader, you got to work at it. You got to make it. It's an ongoing thing. It's an everyday thing. Uh, I call it inging. And what I mean by inging, you're living, you're working, you're developing, you're coaching, you're mentoring. So if you're doing all those things and you're doing it for the right reasons, then you'll become that good leader.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's such great advice. What would you say, I mean, along with your leadership and pushing people to succeed, what would you say is probably one of your biggest accomplishments as a, police officer?
Well, again, I go back to the young female inspector. It's one of my biggest accomplishments. The other thing, I was chairperson for the Cops for Cancer, and I did that for many, many years. And it was a great fundraiser that we had. It went on for, oh my God, I'd say we did it for about 15 years, Cops for Cancer. And we raised a lot of money. So, that's near and dear to my heart. Reason being,
it's okay. Take your time.
my mom passed away about 15 years ago with cancer. And so, it meant a lot to me to give that back to the community.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Near and dear.
Yeah. So is that, something that's kind of always driven you and to continue to keep her memory alive by doing that?
Yeah, and you do. And my mom was my greatest mentor. And we had 3 boys and 1 girl, and she developed each and every one of us to do good things and do good things for the community and for our families.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're so lucky that you had a mom that raised you that way too, to be who you are today. So moving on, I guess, to when you moved to Paladin, I guess, why did you feel moving into private security was, the right step after your illustrious police career?
Well, I really didn't. I wasn't looking at the time, and a good friend of mine, Mel Cake, who was a retired police officer with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, he at the time was working with their client. At that time was Eastern Health, and his wife and my wife are best friends. They're two nurses, and I was coming down for Christmas on December 2014, 28, on the 28th of December. And he asked if I was interested in maybe a position because he knew I was going to retire. And anyway, I met with Andrew Pattison. And then after I met with Andrew, the next 2 days ago after that, I believe it was, I met with Don McAllister and Terry Verasamy, who was the VP at the time. And I had an interview with them. And it was a funny interview when you think about it, because Don tells the story as Don likes to tell a story. And in the interview, it lasted about maybe an hour, a little over an hour and a half, maybe. And when they were finished, Terry's talking to Don, and Terry says, "Gee, Don, I like him." And Don looks at Terry and says, "What do you mean you like him? You don't like anyone." So, so Don says, "Well, I guess we got our guy."
Yeah.
So,
The rest is history.
yeah. So officially on January 28th of 2015, I retired. And February 1st of 2015, I was sitting in this office 3 days later. So I got 2 days of retirement.
2 days of retirement. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that when you moved over to private security, obviously there are some similarities with law enforcement and security, but did you really fully understand what would be involved in the position that you were taking on?
I thought I knew a lot about security, and to say it's humbling, it's an understatement. I had no idea about healthcare security at the time, and only over the years, through the great mentorship between Don McAllister and Tony York and Blair and a few others, did I know a lot more about healthcare. And the respect that I have for a healthcare officer, as like policing, is absolutely totally different. And I mean, it's the same virtues in regards to understanding, caring, being empathetic, and but at the end of the day, healthcare, I had no idea. If I hadn't known healthcare was like this years ago, and Paladin was the company that was out there, that's still out there, I don't know if I would have went into policing. I would have went into full time with Paladin from day one.
Interesting.
30 plus years ago.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about why. Why would you have made that choice, you feel?
I think more so than anything, and I've never been in the private sector before. This is my first time in the private sector, but the culture of the company, the caring, the understanding, the support there. I know I had some great meetings when I first started with Ashley Cooper in person, and the camaraderie, always being there for you, just like a family. And I always found Paladin to be that way. And you know what? And I talked to the young people today, and I said, "You're in a really great position here. You're with a great company that's grounded, that's well respected right across North America. And if you want to develop a career for you and your family, this is the place to be." And really exciting times right now, Christina, in Newfoundland and Labrador, because we're expanding exponentially. We've gone from 2015, when I started with the company, we had 73 officers. We're about ready to hire maybe another 100 more officers in a great expansion, which will bring us over 600 in the 9 years. So great growth that way. And again, if you're a young leader, exciting times. I mean, you look at the people that have worked from the ground up. You look at Chad. You look at Blair. I mean, they came right from the ground, and president, executive vice president. So when I speak to the young people, I speak about the great opportunities and the future you can have with such a great company as Paladin. And I can tell you, my 9 years, I enjoyed every minute of it.
What do you look for when you want to hire a new security officer? Like who makes the right fit for the company? What kind of qualities do they possess?
Well, we go right back to our new caring. I mean, it's so important that you care, that you're accountable, that you're respectful, that you're exceptional. And when we brought this new this new acronym on a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years now, I think. You know, it really resonates about who we are as a company. And I remember being in on those culture meetings with a lot of great people when we developed this acronym. And to me, it speaks about Paladin, and it speaks about like these are the type of people that we need and that we want in our company, because these are the future people of Paladin. And if you have those great attributes, it's a recipe for success.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. One thing I did want to touch on, you were talking about how, you were kind of surprised by the differences when you moved into private security from law enforcement. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions that people who come from law enforcement may have about private security?
Well, I can tell you there was a lot of misconceptions, and I myself, before I came into this, probably had those misconceptions also. But the biggest misconception is we're not a warm body. We're not someone that's out checking buildings. We are integrated right into a healthcare security program. And I mean, it speaks to our training that we have. And these are specialized field officers. Again, like I go back to the warm body. These are people that are highly trained, whether it be mental health awareness, management of aggressive behavior, active shooter, cream of the crop. Look, I can tell you the courses that we have in Paladin, for the training for the officers that we have, primarily in the healthcare sector, are second to none. And I'll give you this one, which I'm really, really proud of too. Since I came here in 2015 to date, we've had over 200 of our officers that have been recruited by the RCMP, the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, Corrections, Sheriff's Department, Border Patrol, because they have the courses, the training, and the experience of exactly what these folks are looking for. So, and we pride ourselves on that. If we're going to be a stepping stone, a Paladin for people that want to move on in careers in policing and all that good stuff, then you know what? This is a good place to start off. And then now that misconception that we thought or we had as police officers before, the police, and I know this from firsthand in Newfoundland and Labrador, when they speak of Paladin, they hold us in very, very high regard, because they know when they come to those hospital sites, they know the quality of officer. They know what they're going to get, because at the end of the day, when they need to come in, drop someone off, or they need to pick something up, whether it's a video or anything like that, Paladin has everything there for them right at the fingertips, and they have the correct information and very professional.
Mm-hmm. No, that's so exciting to hear, because it is a career that people use as a stepping stone, as you mentioned. But then sometimes they end up saying, "Hey, I love it. I'm not gonna switch," and then they grow throughout the security industry. But what are some of the similarities then between law enforcement and private security for people that do want to, potentially make the jump or have interest in law enforcement? Why is Paladin a good starting point?
Well, the biggest one would be in regards to policing and healthcare security. For the most part, you're dealing with the same type of clientele over the whatever community that you will be in. A lot of the clientele, you deal with that. A lot of the same situations when we talk about code white situations where you're dealing with aggressive behavior. Police deal with that. Healthcare security officers deal with that, with the aggressive behavior. We talk about de-escalation skills. Police are constantly dealing with de-escalation skills, whether it's hostage situations, barricaded persons. We do that at Paladin on a day-to-day basis with the barricaded persons. Our officers are skilled in that cell extractions in regards to aggressive people. Controlling techniques when it comes time to assist nursing. Police use controlling techniques. So there's a lot of, like osmosis, so to speak, in regards to each of the careers.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Now, looking back at your career, law enforcement and private security, what would you say has been one of your toughest challenges that you faced and overcame?
Being able to do everything at one time and try and please everyone at the same time, and you can't do that. You and trying to know everything, and So you don't try to know everything. And again, you go back to good leadership. A good leader surrounds themselves with good people. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know that you have the right people in the right places again, that know what you need to know to make sure that you're servicing your client to the utmost.
I like that. Yeah. What are you most proud of throughout your career? If you look back and reflect, I mean, you named a few things and you named some of your biggest accomplishments. What about with Paladin? What are you most proud of with Paladin?
The most important thing I'm proud of is my team, and the team that we've assembled here right across Newfoundland and Labrador, from our two client services managers, Stephen Shard and Liam Walsh, to our senior programs manager, Shane Marr, our people in culture, Chris Hogan. I mean, it goes on and on. It's your people that you have that are doing the yeoman's work day in, day out, and they come to the job so refreshing. And even though, you know what, it is a tough job, it's not for everyone, but at the end of the day, the thing that makes me the proudest are the people that we've assembled and the way we have everything set up here to move forward into the future here. So that's what I'm really proud of. And again, when you say people, it's the Paladin difference, isn't it? Our people.
It is. It is. Yeah. No, it's very true. What would you say you would miss the most? I'm guessing the people, but like, what else what do you think you'll miss the most?
I'll miss the interactions with, we've had some great clients. And I speak of when we started in our early days with Joe Sobel, Gary Burns, and Allison Collins in regards to Eastern Health. And then when just recently, in the little over a year ago, we amalgamated it from 4 RHAs, Regional Hospital Associations, into one. So right now, we have the entire province. Paladin is in healthcare security in Newfoundland and Labrador. What I mean by that, in Labrador, we have Lab City, Goose Bay. We have St. Anthony, that's the Labrador Grenfell zone. We have the Western zone. We have Corner Brook and Stephenville. We have the Central zone. We have Gander, Grand Falls. And then we have the rural areas, which are Bonavista, Burin, Clarenville, Harbour Grace, Carbonear, and then the metro area, which is the greater St. John. So from starting off small back in 2015 with just the St. John's area, we've now taken over the whole province.
That's impressive. It's been a lot of work too, I imagine.
And a lot of great people did a lot of the work. And that's why it's so important. Like I say again, can't say it enough. Make sure you surround yourself with the right people.
Well, you gave us advice about putting the right people in the right places as a leader, but is there any other advice that you'd like to share?
Take care of your family. Take care of yourself. Educate yourself and be fair and honest to yourself.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's perfect advice. What's next for you? What are you going to do now that you are finally retired after you get your retirement? It's not 2 days anymore.
It's going to be for more than 2 days, that's for sure. And I do like to travel, and I know my wife's got a list already made.
Great.
at home.
Yeah. She's excited about it.
Yeah. She's got another 1.5 years to go before she retires. She's 32 years in nursing right now.
Oh, wow. Great for her.
When she's done, we'll certainly plan a lot more. But for now, as I have a Bernese Mountain Dog, his name is Bear.
Nice.
So myself and Bear will enjoy a lot more walks together and a lot more time with family.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Cy, for joining us and reflecting back on your nice, long, fulfilling career. The stories were great, and I appreciate you sharing your bits of advice too for everyone. I think it'll go a long way for people listening, and I know that you've been a great leader and a great asset to the company and those that worked closely with you. Really enjoyed it and truly probably couldn't do what they were doing without you. So thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for all the work that you do for us on a day-to-day basis too.
Hey, thanks for tuning in with the Difference Makers. If you want to hear more about the ins and outs of the security industry from real professionals, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Also, check out new episodes on the first Tuesday of every month. Till next time.